Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Get my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yep, what's good, original crew, man? We're back. We got final photos with Unnerving Backstories. I don't know what unnerving is supposed to be. It's supposed to, you know what they're supposed to mean?
With Unnerving Backstories. Yeah.
Explain. Oh, shut the door. You got it open? Why you slamming so hard?
I didn't slam it. I pulled it up.
Y'all, she slammed it, didn't she? That was it peaked. You see, doom. But you, still, what the?
Unnerving. My earrings, maybe.
Just say you don't know. Just say you don't know.
I
hate when you ask somebody. When you be like,
but yeah, I don't know.
I hate when you ask somebody. You know what they mean? They be like, yeah. All right, what do it mean? You know what it means? Like, no, I'm asking what it means.
You know how you know
you know what it means? Like, no, what is supposed to? Hey, I don't know. No, we'll say you don't know. Then.
No, because I feel I'm not about to go back and forth.
But hey, that being said, before we get into it, make sure you check out the links in the description box
down below.
You already know where to go if you want to first support. All you gotta do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals,
lock it in with a thumbs up.
We'll highly appreciate it, man. Let's hop into it. Let's check it out. Let's see what's about. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get it, y'all.
In February 2015, 18-year-old Dalton Pua went to visit his grandmother Martha Bear in Waianae, Hawaii. Once there, he mentioned to his grandma he was planning on going hiking in Mauna Lua Valley Park in the morning. According to Martha, Dalton mentioned he was going to climb the Haiku Stairs, also known to the locals as the Stairway to Heaven. Consisting of over 3,900 steps that ascend the Kohulahu mountain range, the Stairway to Heaven was once a popular tourist hotspot until it was officially closed to the public in 1980 due to the dangerous conditions of the climb.
Will you climb that?
No.
What you thinking? I know when you be zoned out thinking.
I'm not zoned out. You asked me a question, I was thinking about it. I was like, no. Personally, no.
Still, many daring hikers over the decades continue to climb the legendary staircase for the thrill of the challenge, and it's not uncommon for the police and fire department to have to rescue and arrest lost hikers who realized they bit off more than they could chew once they were at the top of the staircase. When Dalton told his grandmother about his plans, she warned him that it was illegal and tried to stop him, but he was determined to climb the Stairway to Heaven and didn't listen to his grandma. On the evening before the climb, he posted to Facebook with the caption, "Stairway to Heaven, hiking this insane hike tomorrow, wish me luck." His friends quickly jumped into the comments to remind him that a recent mudslide had damaged an entire section of the staircase, making it even more dangerous to attempt the hike. But the very next morning, Dalton took a bus to Mauna Lua Valley Park and began the hike, documenting the start of his journey on Facebook with the caption, "And the hike begins, #Haiku." At the beginning of the hike, he sent some pictures of the mountain range to his friends. At around 11 a.m. that day, he sent this last image, after which he became unreachable on all communication channels. His friends tried to get in touch with him, but it soon became clear that something had gone wrong during the hike. The next day, Dalton was reported missing, leading to a citywide search involving the Honolulu Police Department, the Fire Department, the US Navy, several drone pilots, and local volunteers. From the moment the search began, the authorities suspected he had successfully climbed the Stairway to Heaven, but was unable to come down safely due to the treacherous conditions. On the first day of the search, it rained heavily over Honolulu, making the climb to the top almost impossible for the authorities. After 4 days of looking for Dalton with dogs, helicopters, and infrared cameras, the search was called off. But later that very same day, 2 hikers who were climbing a nearby ridge claimed they heard someone screaming for help, and the fire department decided to extend the search another day. But on Tuesday, March 3rd, after days of fruitless investigation, the search was permanently suspended. Still, Dalton's friends and family continued to search the area, posting his pictures everywhere online, and even starting a GoFundMe campaign that raised over $15,000. After weeks with no convincing clues or even a trace of what happened to Dalton, several theories started circulating on the island. While many people claimed he probably fell down the side of the mountain on his way up, others speculated that something much more sinister had happened to Dalton while climbing the stairway to heaven. In the last image he sent to his friends, you can see the head of a man popping up behind the bushes next to the stairway. While the skeptics alleged that the figure was probably just a bunch of leaves and branches and a trick of the light, the Honolulu Police Department decided there was enough evidence in the image to issue an alert and request anyone from the public who had information on the mysterious man behind the bushes to come forward. It now appeared as if Dalton's disappearance had turned into a criminal investigation, with many people believing that the man in the bushes was a stalker who had seen the teenage hiker's Facebook posts and followed him up the mountain to attack him. Some Reddit users thought they recognized the guy, with one user mentioning that the guy in the picture was a good friend of his and that he had nothing to do with the disappearance. But when asked,
that's what I don't like about
tell who it is.
No, that's what I don't like about Reddit. Too many people go on here and they just talk. A lot of people on Reddit be bored sitting at the house and got like, this is like, people are seeking like true information, true stuff. And they be just trolling, bro. Like, oh, I was just trolling, man. I'm just like, bro, if you that lonely and bored, bro, go outside, touch some grass, bro. Go to a bar and mix and mingle. Oh, I tried that before. Well, quit being socially awkward, bro. Bro, like, and that, but you know what I mean? And they just be on Reddit making up, you know?
the picture was a good friend of his and that he had nothing to do with the disappearance. But when asked how he could recognize his friend in the image if the man's face was barely even visible, he didn't answer, and nobody's statements on the matter have been verified as true. Almost 9 years after his disappearance, the case of Dalton Pua remains a mystery. In 2021, the Honolulu City Council voted unanimously to remove the stairs, awarding a $2.5 million demolition contract to Nakoa companies. The decision was pretty controversial, but in the end, it was decided that it was the best choice. Unfortunately, we'll still probably never know what happened to Dalton Pua on that day in February 2015, and whether or not the man in his last photo had anything to do with it.
Do you believe that was a... Because we've seen this story before, but do you believe that there was actually someone?
I mean, it kind of do look like someone, but I can't tell. At first, I was like, maybe it's like how it's angled, since it's kind of, it's a little blurry, you can't really see it.
Yeah.
Maybe you know how like the hill and the mud and like the grass, like over the, and it's like shaped kind of oddly or weird. I was like, maybe
like
it's
a bush
that.
or something.
Because when I'm looking at it, I was like, I do kind of like a head and a man with a receding hairline, or like the.
But I'm sure they could have went back to that same spot, looked over there, kind of seen
like if it matches, if something,
and they were like,
that.
"Nah, there had to be somebody there."
Yeah, so yeah, if so.
So I can
I can only imagine.
So let me get my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of believe there was someone. Reason why? Also, his body never came. Like never was
discovered.
Never found.
Was
so recovered. That's what word I'm looking for. They never recovered his body. They never found any traces. They believe he made it to the top with no evidence and no proof to prove the fact that, yeah, he made it to the top. It's a possibility he did, but even if he failed, even if something happened, I feel like I still would have been able to recover his body, his remains, if something tragic like that happened. That's why, in my mind, I do believe somebody was out there watching him, lurking, possibly took him. He's nowhere in the area. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things just don't seem right with the situation. Yeah. So I do believe that possibly was someone, and whoever that person is, unfortunately, has did something tragic. Yeah. Ain't no telling, man.
This story takes place in Sugar Land, an affluent suburb of Houston, Texas, and one of the safest cities in the U.S. On December 10th, 2003, Ken and Trisha Whitaker went out to dinner at Papadu Seafood Kitchen to celebrate their son Thomas's graduation from Sam Houston State University. That night, Thomas, or Bart as his friends and family called him, got a $4,000 Rolex watch as a gift from his parents. Over dinner, the family laughed, talked, and teased each other like the happy family they appeared to be on the surface. At one point during the meal, Ken asked his wife and sons to get together for a picture. The image shows Trisha and her two sons, Kevin and Thomas, smiling for the camera, and at first glance, everything seems pretty much perfect. Just after 8 p.m., the Whitaker family left the restaurant and headed back home. As they walked up the steps to their house, Bart stayed back to get something from his car, and his dad waited for him. As soon as Kevin opened the door, a man in a ski mask held up a gun and opened fire on the family.
What?
Why you hold up?
As soon as Kevin opened the door, a man in a ski mask held up a gun and opened fire on the family. Within a few seconds, Kevin, Trisha, Kent, and Bart were lying on the floor with gunshot wounds. As soon as the shots rang out, a neighbor called 911, and even though he was injured, Bart did the same as the attacker ran out the back door. When the responding officers arrived, they found 19-year-old Kevin Whitaker dead on the floor. Trisha was immediately airlifted to the hospital, but sadly didn't survive. Miraculously, Kent survived a gunshot wound to the chest, while Bart got away with a single bullet wound to the arm. Initially, the authorities called the crime a burglary gone wrong. Suspiciously, the alleged burglar left behind the gun he used to commit the crime, but the palm print on the gun didn't yield any useful information. As it was later revealed, the gun had been taken from the Whitaker family's upstairs gun safe, which made it clear that whoever committed the gruesome crime knew the layout of the house before entering. The detectives on the case soon realized that this was no ordinary burglary, as no valuables had been stolen, and the family's drawers and closets seemed to have been neatly pulled out by someone who had been a little too careful not to destroy anything. The day after the murders, detectives discovered that Bart was hiding something from his parents. Not only had he not graduated from university, but he was actually a freshman on probation for not attending his classes and had a 1.4 GPA.
Wow.
About a week after the horrifying incident, Kent and Bart went to Kevin and Trisha's funeral, which was attended by over 1,000 Sugarland residents who had never even heard of such a brutal crime being committed in their city.
Have we heard about this?
I haven't personally. You may have be on stuff like this. But personally, I haven't.
Because you remember, it was one case we listened to, and they were supposed to meet up with... No, they thought he had graduated. Did he walk? He was in college. Well, you can walk and still not graduate. All you got to do is give them a slip with your name on it. They're going to automatically read your name off. It ain't like in high school where they already got your documents and everything. In college, you literally just hand them and tell them how to pronounce your name. And they, Kevin, just, you know what I'm saying? They don't really know that you actually supposed to graduate. Because I'm like, even in college, when I graduated with some people, turned around, they posted... Next semester, they right back. I was like, you just walked. They were like, oh, I was 2 classes short.
Yeah.
So, just because someone walks doesn't necessarily mean they actually graduated.
Yeah. That's...
but he was still a freshman and supposed to be graduating. So, you're supposed to be a senior.
On probation. He on academic probation.
So what you been doing this whole time?
With a 1.4 GPA. What have you been doing?
Because typically once you go below a 2.0 GPA, you on academic probation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What have you been doing?
Wow.
Several law enforcement officers were at the funeral, not so much to mourn the victims, but rather to watch Bart Whitaker closely. The night before the funeral, a former roommate of Bart named Adam Hipp had gone to the police station and made a shocking revelation.
He the one who did
According to the police report, Adam mentioned to the cops that one day in 2001, Bart had approached him and told him about an elaborate plan to murder his family in order to inherit their house and about $1 million in life insurance money.
Wow.
Adam claimed that Bart had even offered him a cut of the inheritance money if he agreed to kill his family framed through a burglary gone wrong and shoot him in the arm in the process to make it look more believable. The more details Adam revealed about the chilling conversation, the more the cops realized that the plan Bart had talked about with his roommate was eerily similar to the events that took place on that fateful night in December 2003. During Adam's interrogation, the name of 2 more of Bart's college friends were brought up, Chris Brashear and Stephen Champagne. Chris and Stephen worked at the same country club as Bart, and when the cops tested their DNA and sent samples, they found a perfect match for what was found at the crime scene. As the detectives closed in on the suspects, Bart realized he was in trouble. One night, about 7 months after the murders, he told his father he was going out to the club, and he never came back. The authorities looked everywhere for him, but it seemed he had just disappeared without a trace. With Bart nowhere to be found, the cops focused their efforts on Chris and Steven. Eventually, Steven cracked under the pressure of the interrogation and admitted that he had been the getaway driver on the night of the crime. Chris had been the gunman, and Bart had orchestrated the entire thing. Steven even led the police to a bag that had been thrown off of a bridge into Conroe Lake, which contained pretty damning physical evidence, including two-way radios, water bottles, and ammunition that matched the shell casings at the scene. Almost 2 years after the murder, Steven and Chris were arrested, but Bart was still nowhere to be found. Unbeknownst to the police, Bart had started a completely new life in Mexico. He had a small apartment, a job in a furniture store, and even a girlfriend.
Whoa!
Disturbingly, it was later revealed that Bart had lied to his girlfriend's family and spun a very convincing tale about his past, alleging that he had gotten shot in the shoulder while serving in Afghanistan. A year and a half after the murders, a man named Rudy Rios called the cops and confessed that about a year earlier, Bart paid him $3,000 to let him assume Rios' identity and flee to Mexico. In September 2005, Bart was arrested in Mexico, extradited, and charged with the murder of his mother and brother. As it was later discovered, he had tried to carry out the plan on several occasions with other roommates and friends, but something always seemed to get in the way.
Wow.
In an interview with ABC News, Bart claimed that when he was planning the killings, he was operating on autopilot and about as close to numb as a human being can get. After the trial, Bart was sentenced to death, a decision his father lobbied against for years.
Wow.
Kent claimed that having his son executed would only make him a victim once again, and that he had suffered enough. In February 2018, just 40 minutes before Bart's scheduled execution by lethal injection, the governor decided to spare his life. As of 2024, Bart is still in prison, where he will remain for the rest of his life. Miraculously, Ken has forgiven it.
Oh, he look like he in there somebody punk. Not like that, but but somebody having fun. Look at him. He look like somebody having fun with him. It's been rough.
I would never get how people can plan and go through. Plan it and go through with taking your family out. Your dad, your mom, your brother or sister or whoever. Like, that is so...
I ain't like he either in there crazy or he in there getting it done to him. I don't want to say he deserve it, but... Woo! Your parents didn't. Your mom and your brother and your father. Even though he survived, he did not. None of them deserved it.
None of them. And not only do you have the plan and go through with it, but you even too coward to even do it yourself. You getting other people in on it.
I knew he was behind it when he said,
"Let me get some.
Let me get like when we all walk into the house. Oh, hold on. Let me grab something out of my car." And all of a sudden, somebody in the house. Because you knew they were going to find out you didn't graduate. Because even when you put that you have a degree on that application, they do a check to make sure you have a degree. So any job that requires you to have a degree, they can check to and validate that you have that degree. So when you say, I got a degree, and then they like, I ain't never get a call back. So they picked up that you lied. They know.
All for a house and some money.
Well,
a life insurance policy.
In 2000, I ain't gonna lie, 2003,
how much it was?
$1 million was a lot.
$2 million.
No, I'm just saying. In 2003 is a lot of money.
For me,
then you fled and went to Mexico.
And then started a whole new life.
Got a girlfriend and then gonna lie and say
and
you was in the military. They didn't say you were in the military. I got shot while serving in Afghanistan.
You are sick in the head.
And then you tell them, just shoot me in the arm. Nah, blow your knee out or something. No, we need to shoot you.
That is crazy.
I am glad his father was able to survive.
I am too.
I do hate that his mother and brother unfortunately perished from his selfish and stupidness. I wish one of his roommates would have said something earlier.
I do wish that.
When he plotted with multiple people.
Yeah, especially you going to multiple people. I just wish someone was like, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And like went to the...
Because he would have went to jail for conspiracy to commit. Which is a long sentence in itself. But that's crazy, man.
His son, and went on to remarry and even write a book about his
my bad.
Miraculously, Ken has forgiven his son and went on to remarry and even write a book about his experience called Murder by Family, the incredible true story of a son's treachery and a father's forgiveness.
Wow.
For many people, the most haunting aspect of this whole case is the fact that in this last picture of the apparently happy family together at dinner, Bart knew very well that
Bart didn't look happy. Like, let's be real, y'all. He looks happy. She looks happy. Bart looks like...
No, he living a lie.
Like, he looked like, I'll put the smile on my face. But he doesn't look like, I'm genuinely trying to smile. Let me just fake it because...
Because you knew what was to come. You knew what was, like, your mind on something else.
But if everything went according to plan, his entire family around him would be dead less than half an hour later. Mora Murray was born on May 4th, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts, and was the youngest child in a family of 7. She grew up with her siblings in Hanson, a small suburb of Massachusetts. Growing up, she was gifted athletically and academically, competing at a high school level in basketball, running, and multiple other sports. An award-winning cross-country runner, Mora graduated at the top of her class at Whitman-Hanson High School, after which she decided to go to West Point and follow in her older sister's footsteps. But 2 years into West Point, she decided to transfer to the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she went into nursing. In 2003, she did something pretty unexpected that stood out as unusual to everyone who knew her. In November of that year, she admitted to using a stolen credit card to order takeout from multiple different restaurants.
Oh, wow.
Although the charges were eventually dropped thanks to her good behavior, the fraud marked the beginning of a series of incidents that completely changed the course of her life. One night, in early February 2004, Mora was working at her campus security job and decided to call her sister Kathleen. After talking about Kathleen's troubled relationship with her fiancé for a while, Mora allegedly broke down in tears at around 10:30 p.m. while still on the job. When her supervisor arrived at her desk, Mora seemed completely zoned out, just completely out of it. When asked what was wrong, she only responded with the words, "my sister." For 13 years, the details of the conversation between Mora and Kathleen remained a mystery, but in 2017, it was finally revealed what had upset Mora so much. On that evening in 2004, Kathleen had been discharged from an alcohol rehab facility, after which her fiancé had taken her to a liquor store where she unfortunately relapsed. On February 7th, 2004, Mora's father went to visit her in Amherst, and after going car shopping and to dinner with one of Mora's friends, Mora dropped him back off at his hotel. That same evening, she borrowed his car to go to a dorm party at her campus, and at 2:30 a.m. on February 8th, she smashed into a guardrail in her father's Toyota on the way back to his hotel. Even though she almost totaled the car, there are no records of sobriety testing being conducted that evening. She spent the night at the hotel with her dad, and the next morning she went back to Connecticut in a rental car. On Monday, February 9th, Mora used her computer to look for directions to Burlington, Vermont. She texted her boyfriend to tell him she loved him, and on the afternoon of Monday, February 9th, she emailed the nursing school faculty informing them that she would be away from school for a while due to a death in her family. But it was later revealed that nobody had died in her family. That same afternoon, she texted her boyfriend again, promising him that they would talk later, and made some phone calls to rent an apartment in Vermont. At around 3:30 p.m., she drove away from her school's campus in her black Saturn sedan, which she had stuffed with clothes, textbooks, and toiletries. 10 minutes later, she withdrew about $300 from an ATM, which is where this image taken from the ATM security camera was captured, the final image ever taken of Mora Murray. After this, she bought $40 worth of alcohol at a nearby liquor store and got back in her car to drive away from Amherst. A little after 4 p.m., she checked her voicemail, and that was the last time she used her phone. Shortly after 7 p.m., a Woodsville, New Hampshire resident called the cops to inform them of a car accident on a sharp turn on the highway near her house. She claimed in the 911 call that she saw a glowing light inside the car, possibly from a cell phone. A few minutes later, a school bus driver drove past the car and saw a young woman walking next to it. She didn't seem to be injured, and when he asked her if she wanted him to call the police, she claimed she had already called AAA, but records show she never made that call. At 7:43 p.m., the bus driver called the cops anyway, and this is where things started to get a little strange. Another Woodsville resident driving home from work claimed she saw a police car parked right in front of Mora's car at about 7:37 p.m. She claimed she didn't see anyone inside the car and continued home. Strangely, this statement contradicts the police department log, which mentions the cops arrived at the scene at about 7:46 p.m. According to the police department, when an officer with the Harborville Police Department arrived at the scene, he didn't see anyone inside. The car had apparently smashed against a tree on the driver's side, causing both airbags to deploy. Upon inspecting the inside of the vehicle, he found stains of red wine all over the car, as well as an empty beer bottle in the back seat. The only things missing from the vehicle were Mora's debit cards, credit cards, and cell phone, which haven't been used since that night in February 2004. Another resident returning home that night claimed he saw a woman matching Mora's description walking quickly down the side of the road, but failed to report it to the police since he didn't know she was a missing person until several weeks later. The next day, a search was launched for Mora, but the cops couldn't find any clues indicating where she could have gone. As the authorities continued searching for her, Mora was labeled as possibly suicidal, and her friends, boyfriend, and family members were interrogated. Unfortunately, even though Mora had clearly shown an intention to go to Vermont, the case was only handled by Massachusetts state authorities for 10 days after the disappearance, after which the FBI finally stepped in. But by then, it was too late, and Mora had seemingly disappeared into thin air. During the investigation, several theories regarding Mora's disappearance started to emerge. Although the cops initially claimed she had been suicidal, the evidence found in her car seemed to indicate otherwise, as it seemed unlikely that a person bent on taking her own life would even bother to pack toothpaste and teeth whitener in her vehicle. It's also possible that she was so terrified of getting into serious legal trouble if she was found intoxicated at the crash site, especially after her recent credit card fraud charges, that she ran away to Canada by hitchhiking. This would also free her from the drama going on in her personal life back home, but it's pretty much impossible to confirm a theory like this. After the disappearance, Mora's father alleged that she had been abducted by a local kidnapper, while several members of the public started pointing fingers at the bus driver who had failed to stay with Mora until help arrived. Suspiciously, that same bus driver moved to Florida with his wife a few months after the incident. Still, despite the amount of theories that have surfaced for the past 20 years, authorities haven't made any significant breaks in the case, and will likely never know what happened to Mora Murray.
I thought you said in 2017 you found out what? Oh, well, man. I remember this case. We went over this case before, too. I don't know if you remember.
I remember the ATM. Yeah, the ATM picture. But I didn't remember the details.
Yeah, I did.
Ronaldo Dana was a councilman in Manila, Philippines, who was known for cracking down on local crime, specifically gang activity during his term. On New Year's Eve 2010, the 35-year-old councilman asked his family to wake him up before midnight so he could celebrate the new year with them. Shortly before midnight, the family went out on the street to join in on the New Year's celebration with their neighbors by lighting firecrackers and counting down to midnight. At one point in the evening, Ronaldo asked his wife, mother-in-law, and daughter to pose for a picture next to their car. Just as he stepped back to take the picture, a man with a baseball cap approached the family from behind the car. Shockingly, right as he pressed the button to take the picture, the man in the baseball cap pointed a gun at him and opened fire, shooting the councilman in the chest with his .45 caliber revolver before fleeing the scene. Surrounded by the sound of fireworks, the family didn't hear the gunshot, but saw Ronaldo collapse on the street with blood flowing out of his chest.
Wow.
As soon as the police arrived, they rushed him to the hospital, where he was unfortunately pronounced dead. However, thanks to the image in question, which was somehow taken just in time to act as perfect evidence, an arrest was made very quickly after the crime. The killer was immediately identified as Michael Gonzalez, and 2 of his accomplices were also arrested in the days following the murder. According to the victim's mother-in-law, the man in the tank top shown in the image was acting as Michael's lookout and was also arrested. It was later determined that the crime had probably been carried out as revenge, as Ronaldo had ordered the arrest of Michael and his accomplices for car theft in 2010. Apparently, the criminals were out on bail that night and decided to exact revenge before being thrown back into prison.
Wow.
Unfortunately, nothing will ever be the same for Ronaldo's family, but at the very least, the picture was enough to capture his killers and bring the councilman's loved ones a sense of closure. And thanks again to Scentbird for sponsoring this video.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
But what was it, three of the four stories we already knew about. That second story we did not know about previously before, and that was chilling, bro. Dang, I'm gonna have to go back and revisit that third one though.
The third one,
yeah, just because he did more details than the prior knowing. But I kind of like the details. I'm trying to think of remember the previous details, and I'm trying to put them details, so it's just throwing me into a loop a little bit on that one. Man, R.I.P. to those who tragically lost their lives. I wish they were able to get more results about with the guy in the first story.
Yeah.
Especially with him being a teenager and he was just out visiting grandparents and.
I really would like to know, like, what actually took place. What happened? Like, was it someone? Was it...
And that second story just...
out there?
Not the second, the third story.
Yeah.
That one was kind of...
Yeah,
that's a little sus.
That one is a little...
Because we didn't know about the bus driver leaving.
Didn't know about the bus driver. Didn't know he moved to Florida with his wife. I wonder, was it already planned or was that just like...
Spur of the moment?
Yeah.
That one's a little sus.
That's... Yeah, I don't know.
One of those situations, man.
Right.
Hey, man, y'all spam us up in the comments, man. Let us know y'all thoughts and opinions about it for us in the comment section down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid That Is. We are. We are.
Go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar.